Well, hello everybody. It's evening time. A beautiful evening. So I thought, let's have a candle. Let's go mad and have a candle. It's Christmas time as well almost, isn't it? So what we're going to make today, we are going to make one of these waxed envelopes today for in my deconstructed journal. So this is the envelope, made from waxed paper. Now waxed paper is actually very, very delicate. So what I did to strengthen it is I've lined it in tulle to offer it strength. And then into it I've put this reproduction. So I've reproduced this from an original German cologne advertising card. And that just sits nicely in there. And we've got an applique here from a vintage wedding dress. So I'm going to show you how to do a envelope that is waxed. This is a German envelope. You can see the writing in German there. So what I did first is I chose what I wanted to go in the envelope. So this is going to be a reproduction Valentine card. It's one that I've reproduced, and there's your journaling space. So first of all, I got some paper out. I thought, oh, we'll use a lovely musical notes paper, music paper, and it didn't fit the envelope. So I've had a look around, got out what I need, what I liked, and this is from the sort of early 20s, 30s. It's a ladies' journal. And that's how it's got trimmed and untrimmed underwear. Look at this. It's beautiful, isn't it? So I'm going to use this to make my envelope. So you need your paper, something to put in it to make sure your envelope's the right size. I've got a block of wood, which I'm going to iron on my wax. I have got a little ironing board for in my craft room, but because we're using wax paper, we're waxing, I'm going to use this block of wood. This is my iron. It's got a flat surface. I mean, you can use your steam iron if you want to, but make sure that the steam setting is turned off, and make sure that you cover the base to protect it. This one is just comes apart there actually. Oh, there we go. It's a travel one, and I bought it off eBay. Didn't cost me very much at all. So that is that, and it absolutely works a treat. I've seen the ones in Hobbycraft that you can buy, but honestly they're only about that big. At least this is a this is a decent size. So my block of wood, I've got some tulle to line my envelope with. Now this is hand dyed tulle. I've dyed it with avocado, so it's not an even dye because it's eco dyed. And then I've just got out a selection of avocado dyed bits and bobs out of my pretty box. Some different things. See how the dyes, the different fabrics take up the dyes. Same dye, but taken up differently. That one's tea stained, and then this is a avocado dyed lace. So I've got my bits and bobs to decorate with, and I've got my jar of I just use vegetable wax. I did use beeswax initially, however it's turning out now to be incredibly expensive, so I just got this wax. In fact, here it is, vegetable wax, and it's from Hobbycraft. So without further ado, let's get started. So my iron's plugged in and warming up. So let's take my paper I'm going to use to make my envelope. So first of all, you check your width, and then I needed to make sure that this would fold around the envelope, and it does. So let us just decide where we're going to tear this, and I'm actually just going to tear the white space off each side there. Now you can cut it on your cutter if you prefer to. I'm a tearer, so I'll just tear off there, and the same at the other side here. Practical patterns for the home worker. Do you know, didn't they dress so beautifully? I always, if ever I wear a dress, I always wear an underslip. And that's because my mum always used to put me in an underslip when I was a little girl. And so I've just continued that, it. So that is the right width. That's my external side, this is internal. So let's just fold it whereabouts I want it to fold. So we'll fold it there, and we will fold it there. Now I know that when I've said before about using, so you make rules and then break them almost instantaneously. Let's see if I can just tear that off there. I'm going to have to cut it off. So on the front of my envelope will be the right way. The back of my envelope is going to be upside down. That is just how it's going to be for this. Now, because it's waxed, I'm not really bothered. Now, I should have said also, I do believe that you should sew your tulle on, because it actually is quite difficult to glue onto waxed paper. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac because I find that Fabri-Tac actually goes on the best, glues the best. Right, there we go. So let's get my block. So there we go. Now I've got some waxed paper here as well. Let's just fold it the same size as this. Just some non-stick. It's like a parchment paper. Right, so I'll pop that on there. I have got a wax bath, but in this instance I'm using this ironing method. Right, so I'll put my paper on there. So I'm going to get some of my wax. You do not need to drown your paper in wax. A little bit of wax goes a long, long way. So spread your wax out. Then literally just get your iron and iron. Now, if I was using my own house iron, I would definitely at this point not be ironing directly onto the wax. I would put something there instead. I'd put some something over the top of it, probably some more of this wax paper. Just move the candle. Don't want to set myself or my papers on fire. There you go, it'll start to dry. Okay, I'm back. I dropped my iron then. You can always, if you think it's too thick, just sort of spread that out, because obviously it'll dry, begin to dry, but the more you work on it, you'll melt it again. So I'm just spreading it out because I feel that was just a little bit too thick. Right, so let's just do this next part here. Just a few little pieces. You're better to have less and add to it than to have too much and overdo it. I do love a waxed envelope. There we go. Let's just bring that down. There we go. There we go. Now I'm just going to give that a couple of minutes to dry off. It's already dried at the top. You see how lovely that looks? It's actually through onto both sides. So that has dried really nice. I love the effect that it gives. I do like waxing paper. Now I'm going to, like I say, I mean this is quite strong paper. However, I do feel that it is still quite delicate and I want to cover in the tulle anyway. So this is my tulle. Again, this is netting. This is off a wedding dress. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop that onto there. I'm going to put it over, and then you could use glue and put your glue around the edges and at the folding points and glue it on. So your folding points will be wherever you've chosen. So for me, I'm going to have a folding point about there. And you will get a white line at your folding point because of the wax. So those are my folding points. Now if you decide you don't want that folding point, if you just go over it with a hot iron, it'll get rid of that white line. So I want it there. I'm going to bring this down to there. So those are my folding points. So what I would do if I was gluing, I would go around the edges, my folding points, with the glue, and then I'd pop my tulle on top. Now at this point, if you wanted to, if that's what you're going to do, or even with stitching, you could even put some little sequins or buttons or something in to make a shaker envelope. I'm not going to do that. I don't want a shaker envelope at this point, but I am going to just knit to my machine and I'm just going to stitch this on. So just to show you what I've done, the top part here, which folds over the top of the envelope, do you know, I'm frightened to death I'm going to set myself on fire. So the top of the envelope, as you can see, I've just stitched around there. And what I could, I mean, you could put the tulle on the outside of the envelope if you wanted to. I've just chosen to line my envelope with tulle. But you could have left the side open, put your sequins in, and then stitched. And what I do here is I would now cut around. You can have some of your tulle overlapping. You don't have to cut it neat and straight in with your top of your envelope. So you can have a bit overlapping. So you get a bit overlapping like that. So next I'm going to stitch in this middle one, and then I'll put that into place. Oh, let's move away a bit. I'm going to stitch in the middle one, so then I'm going to put the bottom one into place when this one's stitched like that, and I'll do a fancy stitch work around it. I'll probably, you have to think at this point too if you're going to add any fancy laces or anything, but I'll probably add something. I was thinking of putting this one across the bottom so I can stitch that one on after, and on the top I may well put one of these beautiful puffy flowers. So I'll just stitch round this and then I'll be back. Okay, so I've stitched around this one, this middle section. Gone a little bit wonky on the bottom there, but it doesn't matter because I'll be stitching another piece. So now I need to secure this, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to fold it. Now I was going to just cut it off there and stitch there, but I'm actually not. I'm going to cover this part with tulle as well. Because this is upside down, I thought it's less obvious if I put some tulle over it. So first of all, I'm going to sew this bit. Then I'm going to put them together and sew down each side. Because I obviously don't want to sew across there, or else I won't be able to get into my envelope. So that's where I'm going to next with this envelope. So let's just take those off there. What I've done is I've stitched around the three sides. So that is a clear pocket now. I'll trim this off after. Now I've actually left this bit open because I'm going to put this across the bottom. So I've left it open so I can stitch that on. But what I thought is I might as well make a little shaker style envelope. So I've got some vintage buttons. Some of them have still got the thread on, you can see there. They're ever so tiny. I mean, if I put one on the end of my little finger, you can see how tiny they are. So I'm going to bob them into here. I've also got a little pair of scissors charm. They don't actually work those. Just a charm. So I'm going to put that in. And I thought, I've got these press studs. So I thought let's just pop some press studs in as well. zippers there, those can all go in there. So there's the shake on it, and then I'm going to just tip them this way out, then they don't fall out. Oh, there's a button jumped out there. I'm going to get some of this avocado dyed ribbon, and I'm just going to trim, and I'm just going to stitch that on the bottom there now, and then I'll be back and we can carry on. Let's have a little zoom in, then you can see that there. Okay, so that's done. I've stitched around there for my little buttons and charm and press studs are all behind the tulle. This is stitched on, and I did it so that the lace at the bottom of the trim just shows on the base of this side of the envelope. So what I'm going to do now is just trim everything off. So I'm going to cut that down to the size of my envelope. This one to the size of my envelope. Brilliant. And now I'm going to trim around and take this down to the size that I want it, the tulle, and I'm going to leave just a little bit overlapping. I've lifted it up so you can just see what I'm doing. And on the other side, let's just take this off. Okay, so that is sort of the front of the envelope, and this is the back. Now I like this so much that I think I'm actually going to put some on this side of the envelope. So I'm going to get my fabric tack and I'm going to go along there. Like I say, fabric tack, I wonder if it's because the alcohol in it does go better onto waxed paper than ordinary PVA tacky glue. Well, that in my experience. Let's just pop that onto there. Just trim that off. That's there. Oops. Don't throw any bits away, so even the little bits like that can go in your scrap jar, can't they? So back to the, now that will take longer than average to dry because of the wax. And I'm actually going to get a pin or two. I'm just going to pin that into place actually, just to make sure it's held and doesn't move. You can pin it, you can put a gripper on it. There we go. Right. You have to be careful not to bend too much, because that's when you do end up with these. You see the white bits from the wax, but like I say, if you just run the warm iron over it, it will just melt again and those will disappear. Right, so there we go. We've got this. And I want to now do something across the top. So I had a look. I've got my butterfly. I've got these, but I thought that looked a bit too big and heavy. So this is some lace. Does that fit? Oh, actually, it just fits exactly right. So this is some lace that I hand dyed. This was done with avocado. So just check the right way. I'm not sure where I got this lace from, I'm sorry, but I am just going to pop that onto there. I could always pop my butterfly on. I think I will do. So let's just get the fabric tack and stick that on. Yeah, they are lovely, these waxed envelopes. Get the right side. Yeah, they're lovely, but they are very, very delicate to work with. Like I say, just warm up your iron again and you can easily sort any bits and pieces out that you may need to. Right, let's just pop that on. So that's that. Now, let's have a see what we've got here. Do like that. See, I love layering up. I've got that flower I could cut out and put on there. Oh, where's the tea stained one? Here we go, it's the coffee stained one. So that might be just nice on there, just as a contrast, is it? There's my butterflies. Yeah, that's, if we put that sort of like that and then a butterfly on it, so we've got the flower coming down there and then the butterfly. So let's pop that on. Remember not to stick anything on this bit, it's the top of the envelope we're decorating. I think I just have done that. I think I've put some glue on the flower. Where did I have it? Oh, nope. I had it like that. There we go. And then my butterfly, I've got two butterflies. Let's see which one's the pinkest or whether they're both the same. That one's got a bit of green on that one. I think this one. Usually a person who leaves all my threads on, but I'm just, you know, a bit more mindful. So let's put that on. This is easier now because you're not sticking it directly onto the waxed envelope side of things. So that can go onto there. And never want to miss a chance with some sparkle. I've got some sparkle. Just put a little bit down the butterfly's body there, couldn't I? So it's there. It's good to have think ahead of the things that you might need and have everything ready. I mean, if you don't and you think of something else, it's no big deal, you can still go and get it. Oh, I like that. Just going to take those pins out of there now, because that should have started to dry. So yes, I like that. Let's just come out a little bit. So there we go. So I've gone from having a envelope like this, which is just lined with tulle, and that on there. So much plainer and simpler envelope to one a little bit more layered up shaker. Now it's up to you if you want to put something on there. It's quite nice to leave that. Let's just get my iron. So I'm just going to run my iron onto those little white bits. Yeah, so if you just get the tip of your iron and just run over those little white bits, they disappear. So I was just wondering then if I needed to put something actually on the front of this envelope. So I was looking at this, but then I thought if I do, it takes away the beauty of this clothing. I turn into a real fuss pot, me, I don't know about you. Absolute fuss pot. So I'm not going to put that on there. I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm going to call it a day. Now I did notice a little bit, you know, I'd caught in my machine. So let's just stick that down. Whoops, it's come off, but stick it back on. I think that is really, really pretty. So I've just stuck that back onto the tulle there. And then inside I am going to put my Valentine card, my reproduction 1940s Valentine card, so that can go in. And you can actually see it through. See it there? So that's going to go in. But also, because of these buttons and things, I'm going to pop in this darning silk. Now you're thinking, why are you putting a Valentine's card and darning silk in there? But I remember when I was a little girl, when I went to my grandma's, she had all sorts of things in her jewellery box. So she'd have not a jewellery box, a keepsake box. So she'd have envelopes with cards in off my grandfather. She may have popped this in because this day, on Valentine's Day, when she went out with him, she wore these stockings and she used them. Those are some buttons off a dress that she might have worn. So that's why it's, you know, I remember my gran would put everything in. And this is what I'm trying to achieve with my journals. So I hope you like that. Please give me a thumbs up. I'm getting a husky voice now. I hope thumbs up, like, and subscribing to my channel would be amazing, as I'm growing my customer base, not my customer base, my fan base now. I have a lovely customer base in my Etsy shop. I'll put a link to my Etsy shop below. So there you go. So I hope you like it. So there is a waxed envelope. Thank you.